this is the VantagePoint Intermarket Analysis software. I'll explain everything that we're looking at on the charts here, so you see, understand exactly what we're looking at and how this really performs. But what I want to show you really quickly here is this is Spectra Energy, same chart as in that demonstration there. But what I want to actually do is come over to this market tree, and this software, it actually performs what's called intermarket analysis. It's using a type of artificial intelligence. They're called neural networks. Now, what's happening here is that these neural networks are able to scan through literally unbelievable amounts of data. I mean, you simply wouldn't have the capability of performing this type of analysis yourself. And what this allows us to do is analyze those global market relationships to determine where future prices are headed with a very, very high level of accuracy. So what's happening is that that data from those other markets is being incorporated into essentially predictive indicators to help us make much better trading decisions. Now, I've gone into the properties of the software here, and I've gone into what's called the intermarkets. Now, this is very important, guys. There's actually 2 patents on this technology and this approach. There's really no one out there really utilizing this way. Now, when we're looking at a chart for Spectra Energy here, if you look here in the intermarkets, these are the 25 to 30 most closely related markets that those neural networks, so that technology has found those significant relationships and determined have a relationship with this market. Now, a lot of these markets that you see, if you look very, very closely, we have things like the dollar index. Spectra Energy works in the natural gas. You see natural gas, the energies, light sweet crude oil, as well as all these ETFs. But the problem is that a lot of these markets seem quite obvious, like the S&P, the ETF, the SPY, but a lot of these relationships are quite subtle, and literally humans don't have the ability to analyze this much data on a consistent basis. And not only that, it's doing this every single evening. So imagine the ability to scan 20, 30 markets and how they're affecting the one market that you're trading. So you don't really need to understand the nuances of neural networks, but what happens is that information of not only the market that you're trading, but those 30 related markets is incorporated into essentially these predictive indicators that forecast short-term prices to help you make better trading decisions. Now, this is critically important because what ends up causing many of these trend reversals in the market, in reality, are these global market relationships. So when you're trading in the energy market, when you're trading in financials, when you're trading in whatever, you need to be paying attention to energy prices, crude oil prices, interest rates, how the financial ETFs and technology and energy ETFs are performing. This is what's really going to have an effect on your overall trading. So if you guys are following, let me know if that makes sense to you. Now, I'm going to go ahead and clearly really explain these indicators, because once you understand the indicators, this will all be very, very clear now. One of the things as well is a lot of traders are spending a lot of time doing their analysis and have 4, 5, 6, 7 different indicators and really end up confusing the issue for them. Now, what's nice about VantagePoint is we have these 2 indicators, which I'll go ahead and kind of define for you here so you understand exactly what we're looking at. Now, if you notice against the price data, again, these are daily bars and candles, we have a black line and also a blue line. Now, guys, the black line on your chart, that is a simple moving average. Now, a lot of traders have probably used a simple moving average. If you're familiar with that, go ahead, let me know, type yes or no if you're familiar with a simple moving average. But all that is it's taking the last, however many, in this example, it's taking the last 10 close prices, averaging them together, and plotting that value moving forward. Now, the reality with simple moving averages is they're really reacting to where the market has already been, essentially a lagging indicator. So it really gives us no information. All that information is completely digested, known by the market. Now, aside from the black line, you're going to notice that there is also a blue line on the screen. Now, the blue line, that is VantagePoint's proprietary predicted moving average. Now, for that value to be plotted on the chart, it's not only looking at the past prices of Spectra Energy, but it's looking at those 25 to 30 most closely related global markets. Again, things like the energy markets, crude oil, natural gas, the dollar index, which is going to affect every single stock that you trade, the ETFs that trade these stocks through those shares as well. So, this is very, very critically important to understand what's going into that indicator, because it's really going to guide your decisions as far as determining, hey, what is the direction of this market? And by plotting that value and weighing those global market relationships, it's going to do a much better job of not being confused by what is essentially short-term price action. Now, what happens often in the market is traders get, tripped up in these sideways consolidation periods. But all we're really looking for as traders is situations like this. So where that blue line has crossed above or below the black line signals to you that, look, there's been a trend change. And if there's been a change in the trend, this is a new opportunity, and you want to go ahead and pay attention to that. Now, it's very, very simple. You can apply that in a very simple, straightforward way, but let me go ahead and explain the indicator on the bottom, because it's really the combination of these approaches that, again, is essentially creating a short-term forecast for you. So regardless of, maybe you use fundamentals, maybe you trade options, maybe you have some other approaches, some shorter-term approaches that you really like, but I certainly want to go ahead and incorporate that into this very clear forecast from VantagePoint that's really going to indicate, okay, what's the overall direction? Should you be a buyer or a seller in this market? And now, what should you expect over the short term? Now, if you look at the very bottom of the screen here, you're going to see a green indicator here. Now, this indicator is called the Predicted Neural Index. You see P index here, and this indicator is extremely accurate and effective, and it can only be a value of a 1 or a 0. So very clear, very straightforward. And how we want to use this tool is really as a short-term strength or weakness tool. It's really, in reality, it's a 48-hour indicator. So it's really looking 2 candles ahead, letting you know if there's strength or weakness in the market. Now, that can help with overall trade management, but certainly is a really great tool to use for when you identify these crossovers in the market. So that if there's a crossover, it's not only saying, hey, there's been a directional change in the market, you can also say, okay, well, if the neural index, that 48-hour indicator, is also showing a bullish signal as well, that's really that double confirmation. It says, okay, this is something that you want to go ahead and pay attention to. But as long as that blue line stays above the black line, you want to go ahead and remain in your position. You'll notice that the neural index, it drops down to a 0 after that day, drops down to a 0 after this day, but the blue line remains above the black line saying, look, sit on your hands, hold tight, the overall direction is to the upside. Now, for you shorter-term traders who are looking for, really shorter-term opportunities where there's a lot of momentum in your favor, well, certainly when you see this separation between the blue and the black line, so essentially that prediction being a much different value, whether on the upside or to the downside, a much different value than that actual moving average, that simple moving average. Additionally, if you have that strength from the neural index, certainly you can look to be a buyer over that next 48-hour period and go ahead, set those profit targets. Whatever your trade management style is, it really doesn't matter. But what matters is you really have this approach that clearly defines direction. Hey, am I a buyer or a seller in this market? And then help you understand the timing and what to expect over that next couple of trading days. Because certainly you can be in an uptrend, but there may be some short-term weakness where you just need to go ahead and deal with that volatility over the short term. Now, again, you see, as long as that blue line remains above the black line, it's saying, look, hold on to that position. There's really no reason to go ahead and step aside. And I can't stress this enough for people who have full-time jobs. A lot of people typed in part-time traders or really beginners. That might be because you have a full-time job, and simply you're not going to have the ability to really be in and out of the market, taking these really short-term day trades and things like that. You want to focus on the bigger picture. And so that's what really helps you understand that, look, is the overall direction changed? Should I go ahead and put in those orders and take that position and really ride out that volatility over the long haul? So if that makes sense to you, go ahead. Let me know. Use that question box. Type yes, no. If you have any questions, let me know. But it really is about having this very simple means of approaching the marketplace, and it really doesn't matter, again, which markets you trade. The indicators work exactly the same to the upside, to the downside, and also across an extremely wide assortment of markets. So we're talking stocks, futures, forex. So as long as you're making trading decisions with this guiding your overall decisions, as far as, again, those things, direction and your timing of being a buyer or seller over that couple periods of time, couple trading periods, you'll be in good shape. Now, a couple more examples here and some important concepts that I want to go over. Here's a chart for Google, and again, I really want to stress this because there's so many traders that trade different styles, and they get so caught up in really wondering, okay, well, does this work for day trading, or does this work for options, or does this work for, none of that really matters. Regardless of the trading style, you need to say, okay, well, should I be a long or a short in the market? if you're not getting that right, you won't be making money. That's very, very clear. And then it really comes down to, look, over a couple-day period, should you be a buyer or should you be a seller? Don't get so wrapped up in the noise looking at 5 and 15-minute charts, but just understand over a couple-day period, should you be willing to go ahead and take on those risks and take those positions in the market? But you see, Google went into a pretty nasty downturn here. Market looks like it was at about 730, 735, crossover to the downside. Now, neural index down at a 0, kind of confirming that short-term weakness, but you see that blue line remains below the black line. So you really don't want to be getting into the market over this period of time. You see a couple green candles there. A lot of traders maybe saw that strength, going ahead, started taking positions, but you see the direction is clearly defined as down. Your neural index drops down to a 0, and you really see that excessive weakness in the market, with that separation between the blue and the black line growing. But it wasn't until recently, till very, very simple, guys, looking for these crossovers and some strength from the neural index to say, look, over the next couple of days, go ahead, be a buyer, set your profit targets, whatever your overall strategy is, but knowing that I certainly want to go ahead and be a buyer around the 5th and 6th, knowing that, look, this market has momentum, it's moving in my favor, which will allow you to really run shorter stops and things like this. So you don't have to have so much risk on a trade to capture the type of move that you're looking for because you're getting in at the right time. So if that makes sense to you guys, let me know. I want to go ahead and go over this next chart and really show you how this works moving forward. And additionally, there is no, you don't have to look for all these crossovers on your own. It's not like you're looking through chart after chart after chart looking for a different crossover. The software is able to really run an IntelliScan process. It's able to scan through all of these opportunities and really just present you with exactly the markets that are getting into really fresh trend reversals so that you can focus on those markets so that it's really this trading day here where you're saying, well, geez, now I should go ahead and look to Google. But this isn't going to really come through your radar, come through those scans until you really, set it up and customize it. So that's all you're going to see is knowing that, okay, now's the time to go ahead and take action. And that's going to allow you to really minimize the time you're spending doing analysis and really just focus on the right opportunity rather than, waiting on a certain market to deliver some sort of result for you. So let me go ahead and show you how this works, though. Now, I have a chart here for Kimco Realty, and I'm zoomed in very, very closely. And what I want to do is really just focus in on how you as a trader can move this moving forward through time. And so really clearly just what we're going to do is let me know when you would buy the market and when you would go ahead and sell the market. Now, right now, obviously, based on how we've defined the indicators, explained these, you see this fresh crossover to the downside. Neural index is a 0, but go ahead, type buy into that question box and go ahead and have it ready like you're ready on the trigger and let me know when you would go ahead and get into this market as we roll this forward. So blue line below black line, neural index you see down here at a 0, so that would mean a short, and the market's moving lower here in Kimco Realty, and you see what happens here. Neural index down at a 0, this 48-hour indicator, and you see 48 hours later a huge amount of weakness since that directional change to the downside happened there. Now, to roll this forward, and again, remember how this works. Short-term strength coming into the market, our crossovers really defining when we go ahead and take action on a market. So let me know, guys. I see a few of these coming in. You guys are participating. Awesome. So buy, long. All right. So exactly, blue line over black line telling you, okay, the direction is moved to the upside on Kimco Realty. And if you look at that neural index, not only is it really clearly defining, okay, the direction is to the upside, neural index up at a 1, but look how early that indication comes through. So if you're a shorter term trader, you just have to understand, hey, what is the indicator forecasting? What sort of time frame are we looking at? And make those trading decisions in line with, again, your trading style, whether that be short term or longer term. So I got about 5 or 6 guys going long here. All right, so how would we manage this? You can go ahead, let me know when you go ahead, get out of this market. And again, remember these short-term indicators, long-term trend, but also the short-term neural index at the bottom, forecasting exactly what we should be doing. Now, all right, you see how this works, exactly like the opportunity to the upside. So this is what's so effective with this. Now, regardless of whether you're going long or whether you're going short, this software is extremely accurate, up to 86% accurate across an extremely wide number of markets at forecasting these short-term prices. So regardless if it's to the upside or to the downside, you can see you can make money recognizing, hey, the market's in a downtrend over this period of time here. Since your timing is good, you can lock those stops in, trail them down with the market, but know, hey, it's time to go ahead and reverse that position, look to go ahead and get long. And what we've seen recently is, let me go ahead and roll this forward, is remember, if that predicted moving average is essentially predicting where the moving average will be ahead of time, well, look what we have now. Essentially, we're getting some short-term forecasts from the neural index, but you see this blue line remains really below the black line, right on top of it, not getting a clean, fresh crossover from the software by any means at all, but about 12.5% move to the upside in about 34 trading days. So again, avoiding that big decline, but knowing, hey, at 27.40, 27.60, that's where you want to go ahead and get that alert that says, now I should be looking at this market in particular and going ahead and making my trading decisions in line moving forward from here. You know, if the software says go ahead and get out of the market, well, that's what you need to do. That's what it's indicating is really the short-term forecast. So as long as you're able to adapt what the market is telling you, or what the software is essentially telling you, you're going to be able to really, you know, have those position sizing strategies to really be much more effective in the market. Now, when you want to be heavier on those positions, like when the neural index and the blue and black line have a lot of separation, and when you want to be lighter on those positions, you know, when you're seeing a lot of weakness in the neural index, and that moving average and actual moving average are pinching closer and closer together. So again, just making your trading decisions in line with what the software is telling you to do, and easily an opportunity like here, 1,000 shares of Kimco Realty, talking about $3,500 on a single trade, and also a trade that almost never went against you. It was maybe against you for the first day, could lock in a stop and really trail those stops moving forward. So very important for people who have full-time jobs. You need to have this longer-term approach, but as long as you have the tools that are able to help you with this timing, know when to just hold on to that position, hold on to that directional move, it can make all the difference. And so why this is so important is because it has such a dramatic impact on your P&L at the end of every month, year, week, really over the long term. You have to be able to capture these really big, exciting moves in the marketplace. You see here an Excel opportunity to the upside. Again, crossover to the upside, but you never know when these sort of opportunities are going to break out. See about an 82% move to the upside, literally a couple thousand shares there, still under about a $10,000 investment, would make you about $8,000. 1,000 shares gets you about $4,000. But on a single trade that, again, you get that information at the right time, and get at the right time so that you can minimize that risk, essentially that overall risk that you'll have to go ahead and take on any given position. So again, guys, how this works is, we do have a scanning feature inside of the software. So instead of, getting this information, later or through some fundamental means or some other methodology or anything like that, you're really going to have these opportunities presented to you really early and really minimize a lot of the time and really effort you need to do analysis on such a wide number of markets. I mean, essentially that's what, computers are good for, is making us a lot more efficient and really helping us make better trading decisions. Now, let me go ahead and demonstrate this scanning feature, though. Now, what I'll do is I'm actually going to go ahead and open up my futures portfolio here. Usually I use a stock, but we get so many guys who ask about the futures market and the Forex market and things like this. So here I have about the 70 futures markets, about 68 or so futures markets opened up here. And let me go ahead and demonstrate that scanning feature for you guys. Now, you can go ahead and set these things up for individual stocks, whether it be by sector, is usually how I like to split things up. But you can go ahead, whether it be options markets that you or highly liquid options markets that you want to trade. You can put all those markets that you like to trade in a portfolio and really scan through them very, very quickly and identify those opportunities literally, within a couple of mouse clicks. I mean, you can set this up so as soon as you click on the portfolio, it'll have all these fresh opportunities ready and saved for you. So here you see all these futures markets, about 60 or 70 or so in here right now. We can go ahead and set the crossover condition. So you see our crossover days ago, we want that a value of 1, right? So just like in that demonstration, we want to see fresh crossovers, fresh trend changes in the market. Let's go ahead and look for opportunities to the upside. And the neural index, or a short-term indicator, we want that up at a value as 1. And you see how quickly this really narrows down a lot of these opportunities in the marketplace. Actually, feeder cattle and live cattle. This was actually from last night, so we had the trading action today. But these were some very bullish markets in the cattle markets today. But this is what really cuts down the time as far as doing your analysis, helps you really analyze a lot more markets, so focus on the best opportunities rather than maybe a market you're trading for maybe a biased reason or because it might sound good or maybe you just want to trade it. Really just focus on the opportunity at the right time that's going to yield you the best results for whatever type of trade that you're looking to get involved in. So what you can do here, guys, is actually go ahead and you see I've scanned through all these markets. There's about 67 markets. It's identified about 4 opportunities, but you can go in and actually save this portfolio. So if you want to go ahead, you can see we can just click Save there. And if we close this out, open up, and open it back up, it's going to have all of those fresh crossovers that have just crossed, everything pre-filtered for you and really ready to go. So I mean, literally hundreds of markets can be scanned in 10 minutes and identify fresh opportunities.